Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Luna Base, her weathered face reflected in the reinforced glass as she watched the alien vessel approach. The ship, if you could call it that, tumbled through space like a wounded animal, its hull a patchwork of metals that shouldn't have held together in a light breeze, let alone the vacuum of space. The Zarn Empire's idea of a diplomatic gift, Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez said beside her, his voice dripping with barely concealed contempt. They could have at least wrapped it in a bow. Chen's lips twitched, but her eyes never left the approaching wreck. The Zarn were the dominant species in this sector of the galaxy, and they made sure everyone knew it. Their gift was meant to be exactly what it appeared, a message. Humans were worthy only of their garbage. "Status report on the escort ships," she asked, though she already knew the answer. The Zarn wouldn't miss this show. 3 Zarn dreadnoughts maintaining position just beyond lunar orbit, Admiral. There, Rodriguez paused, checking his tablet, requesting permission to observe the ceremonial transfer of their generous gift. Chen finally turned from the window, her dark eyes sharp with determination. "Let them watch. Get me Dr. Harper and her team. Tell them to meet me in Hangar 7 in 30 minutes. As Rodriguez hurried away, Chen took one last look at the approaching vessel. The Zarn might think they were pushing humanity's face in the dirt, but they'd forgotten something crucial about Earth's history. Humans had always been extraordinarily good at turning garbage into gold. Dr. Maya Harper wasn't what most people expected when they thought of Earth's leading xenotechnology expert. The short woman with wild gray hair and mismatched socks looked more like an eccentric aunt than someone who had revolutionized humanity's understanding of alien tech. She was also currently crawling through what appeared to be a maintenance shaft in the gifted ship, muttering excitedly to herself. "Harper." Chen's voice echoed through the shaft. "Any initial findings?" "Oh, this is beautiful," Harper's voice came back, followed by some shuffling and a loud clang. "Ow. I mean, yes. Admiral, this ship is absolutely fascinating. The Zarn think they're clever, but they've actually handed us something extraordinary." Chen waited as Harper extracted herself from the shaft, leaving smudges of unknown substances on her already stained jumpsuit. The scientist's eyes were bright with the kind of excitement that Chen had learned either meant a breakthrough or an imminent explosion. "Look at this," Harper said, pulling up a holographic display from her wrist computer. "The ship's architecture is unlike anything in our database. At first glance, it looks like they just welded random pieces together. But there's a pattern. The seeming chaos is actually an incredibly sophisticated modular design." Chen studied the rotating hologram, noting the way Harper had highlighted certain connection points throughout the ship's structure. "And that's good news." "Good news," Harper laughed. "Admiral, this is like being handed a blank canvas made of technologies we barely understand. The modularity means we can modify, upgrade, and completely reimagine every system on this ship. The Zarn probably thought they were giving us an obsolete wreck, but they've actually given us a platform for innovation that their rigid engineering philosophy would never allow them to explore." Before Chen could respond, a new voice cut through the chamber. "Ma'am, we've got something weird in the engine room." Chief Engineer Marcus Way's face appeared on a floating holoscreen, his usually calm demeanor showing signs of stress. "You're going to want to see this." The engine room, if it could be called that, was a cathedral of mismatched technology. Pipes and conduits of varying ages and origins wound through the space like mechanical vines, all centering on what appeared to be the main power core, or rather, what was left of it. "This isn't just battle damage," Way said, pointing to the gutted remains of what should have been the ship's heart. "Someone deliberately removed key components of the power system, but they left just enough for us to see what it was capable of." Harper was already scanning the remains, her expression growing more excited by the second. "They want us to try to recreate their technology," she said. "They expect us to fail, to prove that we're not ready for their level of advancement." Chen looked between her two experts, seeing the same realization dawn on their faces. "But we're not going to play their game, are we?" "No," Harper said, a fierce grin spreading across her face. We're going to play ours. The Zarn power systems are impressive, but they're also hidebound by tradition and protocol. Humanity has been developing alternative energy theories that the galactic community considers too unstable or dangerous to pursue. This ship, it's the perfect testing ground for everything they told us we couldn't do. Chen felt a smile tugging at her own lips. How long? Harper exchanged a look with Y, calculations already running behind their eyes. With a full team, unlimited resources, and permission to break about a dozen galactic safety protocols. 6 months. You have 4, Chen said, already turning to leave. And break whatever protocols you need to. Just make it work. As she strode away, Chen could hear Harper and Y already deep in discussion about plasma containment fields and theoretical quantum matrices. Above them, through the ship's broken hull, she could see the Zarn dreadnoughts hanging in space, waiting to witness humanity's expected failure. They would be in for quite a surprise. 3 months into the project, Luna Base's Hangar 7 had transformed into something that would have given any Zarn safety inspector a heart attack. The alien vessel, now stripped to its skeleton, sat in a cradle of scaffolding while streams of plasma arsed between experimental containment fields. Teams of engineers worked around the clock, their shadows dancing in the otherworldly light of technology that most species considered too dangerous to even research. Dr. Maya Harper stood at her control station, her hands flying over holographic controls as she monitored the latest power core test. Chief Wei's voice crackled over the comm. Initiating quantum cascade sequence. Harper, if this works, we're either geniuses or we're about to create a very small black hole. The math is solid, Harper replied, though she found herself holding her breath as the experimental core began to spin up. They'd stripped out the remains of the Zarn power system entirely, replacing it with something that existed only in theoretical papers until now, a quantum fusion reactor that drew power from multiple parallel dimensions simultaneously. The core hummed to life, its crystalline chamber filling with swirling energy that seemed to fade in and out of visible space. Warning alerts flashed across Harper's screens, but she ignored them. They were calibrated for conventional physics, not for what they were attempting here. Power output at 15% and climbing. Wei reported. 20, 25. Holding steady at 30%. That's already triple what the original Zarn core could manage. Harper allowed herself a small smile. Push it to 40. Are you sure? The containment field. Will hold. Trust the math. Marcus. The core's hum deepened, and the very air seemed to vibrate with potential energy. 35%, 38%, 42%. Suddenly, every alarm in the hangar screamed to life. The core's chamber filled with fractaling patterns of light that shouldn't have been possible in normal space. Harper's fingers flew across her controls, making microscopic adjustments to the containment field's geometry. Maya. Wei's voice was tense. We need to shut it down. Wait, Harper said, her eyes fixed on a particular reading that was buried under the chaos of warnings. Look at the subspace resonance pattern. It's not destabilizing. It's adapting. The impossible light show began to stabilize, settling into a steady pulse that matched the ship's own structural frequency. The alarms fell silent one by one, replaced by a deep, steady thrum that seemed to resonate with the human bone. Power output stabilized at 45%. Wei reported, disbelief clear in his voice. How did you know? Harper was already moving through the data, her excitement building. The ship's structure, it's not just modular, it's adaptive. The Zarn built it to accommodate any power source, probably so they could test captured technology. But they never imagined someone would be crazy enough to try this. Dr. Harper. A new voice cut through their celebration. Admiral Chen had entered the hangar at some point during the test, her expression unreadable as she studied the pulsing core. I assumed from the lack of a black hole that the test was successful. More than successful, Harper said, pulling up a holographic comparison of their power outputs. We're generating more power than a Zarn dreadnought, using a core small enough to fit in this ship's original housing. And this is just the beginning. Now that we know the ship can adapt to the quantum harmonics, we can start pushing the real boundaries. Chen nodded slowly, but her eyes were on something else, a blinking notification on Harper's secondary screen. And that, Harper's excitement dimmed slightly. Ah, yes. During the power spike, we detected something. Some kind of activation in systems we thought were dead. The ship's internal network is more intact than we initially believed. Meaning? Meaning the Zarn left more than just garbage behind. There are active systems threaded throughout the hull, quantum-scale processors, memory crystals, and something else we haven't identified yet. They're well hidden, but the power surge lit them up like a Christmas tree. Chen's expression hardened. They're watching us. Not anymore, Wei said, joining them with a tablet displaying complex diagnostic readings. The quantum core's radiation field has already fried most of their surveillance tech. What's left? He grinned. Well, let's just say we're about to learn a lot more about Zarn data security than they intended. How long until the ship is ready for a full systems test? Chen asked. Harper and Wei exchanged looks. The power core was the biggest hurdle, Harper said. Now that we know the ship can handle it, we can start integrating the other systems we've been developing. The neural interface network, the phase shift drive, the plasma weapon prototypes. 2 weeks, Wei said firmly. We'll need at least that long to make sure all the systems play nice with each other. We're breaking a lot of rules here. We should at least try not to blow ourselves up. Chen nodded. You have 10 days. Our Zarn friends up there are getting impatient. They've been requesting progress reports with increasing frequency. Let them wait, Harper said, her attention already back on her calculations. They wanted to see what humans could do with their scraps. They're about to find out. As if in agreement, the quantum core pulsed, sending ripples of impossible light dancing through the hangar. Above, through the reinforced ceiling, the Zarn dreadnoughts hung in space like distant stars, unaware that their gesture of contempt was about to become the catalyst for their worst nightmare. Humanity unleashed. Night shift on Luna Base was a relative term, but the reduced crew gave Dr. Maya Harper the quiet she needed. She sat alone in the ship's newly constructed bridge, surrounded by holographic displays showing streams of decoded Zarn data. What had started as a trickle of surveillance data had become a flood as they cracked layer after layer of alien encryption. You're not going to believe this, Wei's voice came through her comm. He'd been working through the night shift too, deep in the ship's engineering sections. I just found another cluster of quantum processors. These ones aren't surveillance gear. They're weapon systems. Armed ones. Harper's hands froze over her controls. The Zarn left active weapons on a gift ship. Not just any weapons. These are prototype designs, stuff that makes their dreadnought armament look like toys. But they're incomplete, like someone deliberately sabotaged them. Harper pulled up the latest decoded files, pieces clicking into place, because they wanted to see how we'd fix them. Marcus, this whole ship, it's not just a test, it's a trap. She sent him the decoded files, watching as more text scrolled across her screen. The Zarn hadn't just been watching them. They'd been documenting every innovation, every breakthrough, every piece of human ingenuity they'd poured into the vessel. They expected us to either fail completely or succeed just enough to prove we could replicate their technology. Harper continued, anger building in her voice. Either way, they'd have proof that we were too dangerous to leave alone. The surveillance data would give them everything they needed to justify military intervention. But we didn't play by their rules, Wei said, a hint of pride cutting through his concern. The quantum core alone invalidated half their assumptions about human capabilities. And that's what worries me. Harper pulled up the external sensors. The Zarn dreadnoughts were still there, their positions unchanged for months. They haven't requested a progress report in 3 days. That's not like them. As if summoned by her words, every display in the bridge suddenly flashed red. Warning signals blared through the ship's comm system. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. The Luna Base tactical officer's voice cut through the alarm. Zarn signatures, at least 12 vessels, heavy cruiser class or larger. Harper was already moving, her fingers flying over controls that had barely been tested. Marcus, get that weapons data to Admiral Chen now. We need to. She stopped as new information flooded her screens. The decoded Zarn files were showing something else. Tactical data, fleet movements, and most importantly, communications logs. The Zarn weren't just coming to check on their gift. They were coming to collect. Maya. Wei's voice was tense. What are we looking at? They're not waiting for us to finish, Harper said, already sending emergency signals to wake the day shift. They're here to take everything we've built. The ship, the technology, all of it. And they're not planning to ask nicely. The bridge door hissed open, admitting Admiral Chen and a team of officers. They looked like they'd dressed in a hurry, but Chen's voice was steady as she took in the tactical displays. Status report, she commanded. 13 Zarn warships just dropped into lunar orbit, Harper reported. They're moving to surround both the base and Earth. Energy readings suggest weapons are powered but not yet active. And she gestured to the decoded files still streaming across her screens. We now know why they gave us this ship. Chen scanned the data quickly, her expression darkening. They wanted us to innovate for them. All our advances, all our breakthroughs. They expected to claim them as their own. Yes, but they didn't expect us to move so fast or go so far beyond their technology, Harper said. The quantum core alone represents a leap they hadn't anticipated. Now they're here to take it before we can fully integrate it into our own defense systems. Can the ship fight? Chen asked. Wei's voice came through the comm, accompanied by the sound of rushing feet and shouted orders. The weapons systems we found are operational, but we haven't had time to test them. We'd be going in blind. What about the core? Stable and running at 60% capacity, Harper reported. We've managed to integrate it with most of the ship's primary systems, but the neural interface network is still in calibration. We'd be operating at maybe 70% efficiency. Chen was quiet for a moment, studying the tactical display as more Zarn ships moved into position. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of command. Dr. Harper, Chief Wei, how confident are you in your modifications to this ship? Harper exchanged a look with Wei's hologram. The math is solid, she said. The technology works. We just haven't had time to prove it in combat. That's about to change. Chen straightened, addressing the bridge crew. Sound general quarters. I want every civilian off this ship in 10 minutes. Dr. Harper, you and Chief Wei stay. We'll need you to operate systems that don't exist in any manual. Admiral, one of the officers spoke up. The Zarn fleet outguns us at least 20-1, even counting Luna Base's defenses. True, Chen said, a grim smile touching her lips. But they don't know what this ship can do. Neither do we, really. That should make this interesting. Above them, the Zarn fleet continued to move into position, their massive ships casting shadows across the lunar surface. They had come expecting to find humans playing with technology they barely understood. Instead, they were about to learn a lesson that countless others throughout history had learned too late: never back humanity into a corner. The Zarn flagship's transmission cut through all channels with the subtlety of a hammer blow. Human vessels, power down all systems and prepare for boarding. Your unauthorized modifications to our gift ship constitute a violation of Galactic safety protocols. Resist, and we will respond with appropriate force. Admiral Chen sat in the newly constructed command chair of humanity's first true starship, now designated SS Phoenix. The name seemed appropriate, born from scraps, rising to new life. Dr. Harper, are they scanning us? Continuously, Harper replied from her station, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. They're trying to, anyway. The quantum core's radiation field is playing havoc with their sensors. All they're getting is garbage data. Good. Chief Wei, status on weapons. Wei's voice came through clear despite the interference. The Zarn prototypes are online, but I've got something better. Remember those too dangerous to pursue theories about weaponized quantum tunneling? Turns out they work perfectly with our new power core. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Time to show them what humanity does with scraps. All stations, battle stations. Dr. Harper, bring the neural interface online. The ship hummed around them as systems that had never been meant to work together synchronized through the quantum-enhanced neural network. Harper had designed it to bridge the gap between human intuition and machine precision, and now the entire vessel felt alive, responsive to their thoughts almost before they could form them. Zarn vessels powering weapons, Tactical reported. They're moving to surround us. Let them, Chen said calmly. Dr. Harper, initiate the phase shift on my mark. The Zarn commander's voice boomed again. This is your final warning. Power down or mark. Reality rippled around the Phoenix as Harper activated their most ambitious modification. The quantum core pulsed, and suddenly the ship existed in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. To the Zarn sensors, it would appear to be in dozens of places at once, each version as real as the next. Phase shift stable, Harper reported, excitement bleeding through her professional tone. Quantum tunneling weapons charged and locked on all targets. Fire. The Phoenix erupted with weapons that violated what most species considered possible. Beams of concentrated quantum energy pierced space itself, bypassing shields and armor to strike directly at the Zarn ship's power cores. Two cruisers immediately went dark, their crews untouched but their ships reduced to floating hulks. Impossible. The Zarn commander's voice had lost its arrogant edge. All ships, open fire. Destroy that abomination. Energy weapons and projectiles filled space around the Phoenix, but they passed harmlessly through the phase-shifted vessel. Each shot hit one of the quantum duplicates while the real ship was always elsewhere, striking back with surgical precision. Their flagship is adapting, Harper warned. They're trying to match our phase frequency. Time to show them our other surprise, Chen said. Chief Wei, activate the dimensional anchor. With pleasure. The quantum core's hum deepened as Wei initiated a program they discovered in the ship's original systems, but with their own twist. Instead of using it as intended to prevent phase shifting, they'd modified it to do the opposite. Space twisted around the Zarn flagship as the Phoenix locked it into a single-dimensional state while maintaining its own quantum uncertainty. The massive vessel suddenly found itself unable to evade, its advanced shields useless against weapons that struck from multiple dimensions at once. Their power core is destabilizing, Harper reported. They're trying to shut down weapons, but the cascade effect is spreading through their fleet. The quantum tunneling is linking their systems together. They can't isolate the damage. One by one, the mighty Zarn warships went dark, their crews helpless as human ingenuity turned their own technology against them. In less than 10 minutes, the entire fleet had been neutralized without a single loss of life. Open a channel to their flagship, Chen ordered. The Zarn commander appeared on screen, his crystalline features twisted with a mix of rage and disbelief. What? What have you done? We adapted, Chen replied simply. You gave us scraps, expecting us to fail or at best copy your technology. Instead, we did what humanity has always done. We innovated. Your ships aren't destroyed, Commander. Their power cores are simply locked in a quantum null state. They'll reactivate once we're satisfied that you understand your mistake. This is impossible. These technologies were theoretical, too dangerous Too dangerous for you, perhaps. Chen leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take your fleet and return to Zarn space. Then you're going to tell your leaders something important. Earth is not a primitive backwater to be manipulated. We are not bound by your limitations or your fears. And if you ever try to test us again, we won't be so gentle. The commander stared silently for a long moment before nodding stiffly. Release our ships, and we will withdraw. As Y began the process of releasing the quantum lock on the Zarn vessels, Harper pulled up new data on her screens. "Admiral, the phase shift revealed something interesting. The quantum duplicates let us scan their ships in ways they couldn't shield against. We now have detailed schematics of their entire fleet." "Download everything," Chen ordered. "Something tells me we're going to be doing a lot more innovating in the near future." The Phoenix hung in space, its quantum core pulsing with power as the defeated Zarn fleet limped away. They had come expecting to find humans playing with toys they didn't understand. Instead, they had discovered something far more dangerous, a species that didn't just understand the toys, but had already moved beyond them. As the last Zarn ship disappeared into FTL, Chen turned to her crew. "Well done, everyone. Dr. Harper, Chief Wei, I believe you have some papers to write. The galactic scientific community is about to have some very interesting reading." Harper grinned. "Should we include a thank you note to the Zarn for their generous gift?" "Absolutely," Chen said, allowing herself a full smile at last. "After all, it's only polite." 3 months after the Luma incident, the galactic political landscape had shifted like tectonic plates after an earthquake. Admiral Chen stood before the Galactic Council chamber, the massive amphitheater filled with representatives from hundreds of spacefaring species. The Zarn delegation sat quietly in their traditional position of prominence, their crystalline forms notably less radiant than usual. The events at Luna Base were not just a military confrontation. Chen addressed the assembly, her voice carrying easily through the vast space. They were a demonstration of what happens when you underestimate humanity's capacity for innovation. The Zarn Empire's gift was meant to prove our technological inferiority. Instead, it proved something else entirely. Behind her, a holographic display showed the Phoenix, now restored to gleaming perfection. The ship had become a symbol, its very existence challenging long-held assumptions about technological development among the galactic community. In 3 months, humanity took what you considered scrap and created technologies that your scientists deemed impossible or too dangerous to attempt. We didn't do this out of arrogance or recklessness, but because we refused to accept arbitrary limitations on innovation. Dr. Harper stepped forward, pulling up technical displays that made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. "Our quantum core technology alone has applications that could revolutionize everything from power generation to medical science. The phase shift drive could make current FTL systems obsolete, and these are just the beginning." A murmur ran through the chamber as Harper displayed more data. The Zarn representatives seemed to shrink in their seats as other species began to realize just how thoroughly their attempt at humiliation had backfired. "We come before this council not to boast," Chen continued, "but to extend an offer. Humanity is willing to share these advances, to work together with any species ready to push beyond conventional boundaries. The Phoenix proves what we can achieve alone. Imagine what we could accomplish together." The chamber erupted in discussion. Species that had previously ignored Earth's representatives were suddenly very interested in diplomatic relations. Even the Zarn, their pride wounded but their pragmatism intact, were sending subtle signals about reopening negotiations on more equal terms. Later, in the Phoenix's observation lounge, Chen watched Earth rise over the lunar horizon. Harper and Wei joined her, each holding glasses of champagne from the ship's small but well-stocked bar. "The Centaurians have already offered us access to their quantum computing facilities," Harper said, her eyes bright with excitement. "And the Proximans want to establish a joint research institute. Apparently, they've had similar theories about dimensional mechanics but never dared to test them. The Arcturians want to license our phase shift technology," Wei added. "They're offering mining rights in 3 star systems as a starting point. Even the Zarn are trying to save face by offering a cultural exchange program." Chen smiled. "Funny how quickly being dangerous makes everyone want to be your friend." "Not just dangerous," Harper corrected. "Innovative. We didn't beat the Zarn fleet through superior firepower. We beat them by thinking differently, by seeing possibilities where they saw limitations." Speaking of possibilities, Wei said, pulling up a holographic display, wait until you see what we've discovered about the Phoenix's adaptive architecture. Those modular systems we thought were just for repairs. They're actually designed for continuous evolution. The ship can integrate new technologies almost organically. The gift that keeps on giving, Chen mused. I wonder if the Zarn realized just how badly their plan backfired. They wanted to contain us, to force us to develop along predictable lines. Instead, they gave us the keys to technological revolution. Harper raised her glass. To the Zarn Empire's generous gift. To humanity's response, Chen corrected, raising her own glass. And to whatever comes next. As they watched, a group of ships from various species approached the Phoenix, their crews eager to learn from the humans who had turned scraps into stardust. Below them, Earth continued its eternal dance around the sun, its people no longer bound by the limitations of others' imagination. In a distant corner of the galaxy, a young Zarn scientist studied the reports from the Luna incident, focusing not on the humiliation of defeat, but on the incredible possibilities demonstrated by human innovation. Perhaps, she thought, it was time for the Empire to learn some new tricks. After all, if a species could do this with a garbage skull, what else might they achieve? And in the depths of space, the Phoenix pulsed with quantum energy, its adaptive systems already incorporating new discoveries, new possibilities. It had been born from contempt and underestimation, transformed by human ingenuity, and now stood as a testament to an eternal truth. Never give humans scraps unless you're prepared to watch them build something extraordinary. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity was just getting started.